the famous Rocky statue here in Philadelphia, where the crowds have been dwindling as the wins have been dwindling as well for this once proud franchise. They've fallen on hard times as the Philadelphia Phillies are 23-45 this year. They're 1-9 in their last 10, and they are 13 games back in the National League East. Meanwhile, the St. Louis Cardinals, yes, they've dropped a couple, but still 20 games above the 500 mark. There's Ryan Sandberg, the Hall of Famer, the manager of the Phillies, and Al, point blank, he's in a tough spot. You've got to have players to win, and there's not a lot of talent right now.
Yeah, he's really got a mess. The front office here misjudged things. They kept their star players around too long. Then they actually traded the prospects that they did have the last few years. They traded them away for guys like, like Lee and other pitching people. And now they have a barren farm system. They have a terrible offense and a horrible pitching staff.
Other than that,
they're pretty good.
We'll see how it rolls out this weekend. Baseball's such a funny game. You never know, but you'd like to see the Cardinals minimum take 2 of 3. And they're not facing Cole Hamels here tonight, as Hamels is out with an injury. He was scratched yesterday, and the starter is Philippe Amon. His first career major league start. Made 10 starts in the minor leagues, and he was 3-4 with a 2.55 ERA. This will be the lineup that he'll face with Colton Wong, Matt Carpenter, and Johnny Peralta, followed by Reynolds, Hayward, Molina, Grichuk, Jay, and Lyons. Amon has pitched in the big leagues before while coming out of the bullpen, and he was 1-5 with an ERA over 6 in 45 relief appearances.
He was taken off the 40-man roster, so they had to make that purchase today to get him activated. Been in the minor leagues. He was always a career reliever, and he's always had one problem, and that's he can't throw strikes. He's 6'7". They've tried to change him to throw a sidearm, which doesn't make any sense. Have him more upright and take advantage of that 6'7" frame. He can throw hard. He's got good pitches, but he always pitches behind the count.
Hyundai pitch arsenal for Amon. A four-seam fastball, the slider, the sinker, and the curve. Again, 6'7", as Al mentioned, a big guy out there. He is from a suburb of Quebec, Canada. The Phillies beat the Orioles last night 2-1. That win snapped a 9-game losing skid. Their longest since losing 11 straight back in September of 1999. So here's Colton Wong. He'll lead it off. He's batting .286 with 7 home runs, and he's driven in 27. And the first pitch, a strike, and we're underway. 83 degrees our game time temperature. As Wong shoots it foul and out of play. No balls and 2 strikes. The Cardinals did make a couple of moves today. They've added Xavier Scruggs and Greg Garcia, former teammate of Wong's at the University of Hawaii. As Colton bounces it to second base, taken there by Cesar Hernandez. 1 away. Phillies defensively with Jeff Francoeur in left field. Ben Revere with 5 outfield assists in center. And then Dominic Brown in the outfield as well. Maikel Franco, Freddie Galvis, Cesar Hernandez, Ryan Howard, and Cameron Rupp is behind the plate. And the first pitch to Carpenter.
So much for not throwing strikes.
Matt Carpenter with 2 doubles yesterday. Now with 20 on the season. That is second most in the National League. They want to go inside here on Carpenter. Way inside for ball 1. The graphic that we showed you defensively, flip-flop the left fielder and the right fielder. Francoeur is in left and Brown is in right. Two balls and 1 strike.
Originally, Amon was selected by Seattle in the first round, 11th overall in 2007 draft. And he came to Philadelphia in the Cliff Lee deal back in 2009.
Here's a 2-1. As a matter of fact, in 2011 and 12, he was ranked number 1 in the Phillies system with the best fastball and curveball in the minor leagues.
Now they say he's always had good stuff, but the inability to throw strikes. And remember, as a reliever, usually coming in with men on base, that's a bad combination.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. Hit out of play. His introduction to baseball happened like it does for many kids, playing catch in the backyard with his dad. The difference, though, he did that in a suburb of Quebec, Canada. His dad, Jean-Pierre, played catch with him every day, and he started playing baseball at the age of 11. Said he was a huge hockey fan, but his parents could not afford the equipment. But they could afford a glove and a ball, and that's how he was introduced to the game of baseball. A 3-2 pitch, and it's a walk to Carpenter. It brings in the Cardinals leader in average, home runs, and RBIs. And he's doing it from a demanding position at shortstop, and that's Johnny Peralta.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why you went out and got Greg Garcia or called him up. Same thing with Reynolds. You need a little protection. These guys playing every day, they benefit from a day off or so.
1 out, runner at first. First pitch to Carpenter. Or rather Peralta, and I was thinking of Carpenter because he's another one that could use a day off. And Greg Garcia was telling us before the game that down in the minor leagues, he primarily was playing shortstop, but is very comfortable at third, clearly comfortable at second base, and also a little first base too. 2 balls and no strikes.
Now we're starting to see the scouting report come true. Of course, you get your defense back on their heels. They're not going to be aggressive. They're laying back. You're throwing pitches out of the strike zone.
The 2-0. Now 3-0 with Mark Reynolds on deck. The Phillies starters, and boy, this has been a sore spot this year among many. They have not earned a win since May 23rd at Washington. And over that stretch of time, their starters are 0-14.
That's 23 games. That ties a franchise record for games played without a starter acquiring a win. And with Hamels injured, you know, you just think that it's going to be all the tougher. You know, Harang's probably their best option. He's playing tomorrow, and the Cardinals have had great success against Harang over the years.
Now it's a 3-1 pitch. Carpenter, the runner at first base. Not running, and that pitch is hit out to center field. A line drive that's caught by Ben Revere. Out number 2. Let's take a look at Al Hrabosky's Toyota keys to the game.
Well, the biggest thing is you just want to not help this pitcher out. You know, you got to play with patience. It means don't swing at borderline pitches, make him throw strikes, and just go out there and attack when you get a strike. This club needs to score some runs to take a little pressure off the pitching staff.
Yeah, the Cardinals average as a team is .261, which is 4th best in the National League. Where they struggle, though, the runs per game that you mentioned, they are 12th right now in the league, and home runs are 13th. So generating offense has been problematic as time has gone.
And Dan, we get a lot of singles, get a fair share of doubles. We get too many ground ball double plays. So it's some kind of, the pitching staff's done a great job, but it seems like every time they pitch, you know, there's no margin for error.
2 outs, runner at first. And Reynolds smokes that pitch but pulls it foul. We saw the Phillies in late April at Busch Stadium. Cardinals won 3 of 4 in that series. They scored 1 run in the first game. That was the loss against Cole Hamels, and then 25 runs over the next 3.
They're a different ball club at home, just 1 under 500.
Curveball drops in for a strike. 0-2.
You see, like, it really looks like he slows down and kind of telegraphs that breaking ball. And until you have 2 strikes, you can, you're always up there looking fastball.
Reynolds lines it to short, and it's caught by Galvis. Cardinals strand a runner. Tyler Lyons to work when we come back. It'll be Revere, Hernandez, Franco, Howard, Francoeur, Brown, Rupp, Galvis, Ahmad. That's the starting 9 in this lineup for the Phillies. Tyler Lyons coming off a good start against Kansas City. First win in the big leagues in a couple of years. 4 starts, 1-0. But his last start was really, really good.
Yeah, it was. And he allowed 2 runs in 5 innings in that game. And remember, we had some rain in that, so he only went to 5 innings, and the Cardinals pulled out a 3-2 win. But Tyler Lyons has never faced Philadelphia. I always thought that advantage goes to the pitcher.
Hyundai Pitch Arsenal always look at that breaking ball. It's a good one for Tyler Lyons. Opponents in the big leagues off his slider hitting well below 200.
He has the ability to spot his fastball.
You may notice that the uniforms do not have the names of the players on the backs, and the reason why, it's a flashback to the 60s tonight. There's a fly ball that's hit out of play. And it's no balls and 2 strikes. No number on the front of the jersey, but the familiar logo of the birds on the bat for the Cardinals. And a swing and a miss and a strikeout for Tyler Lyons. Randall Grichuk in left field. John Jay in center, and Jason Hayward is in right. Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, and Reynolds along the infield, and Yadier Molina is behind the plate. Lyons on the mound. That's presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Switch hitting second baseman Cesar Hernandez. No Chase Utley in this lineup tonight.
Utley, a few years ago, was one of the elite players in the National League.
Ground ball. Peralta can't get there, and a base hit into center field.
Utley got off to a horrible start, then he had a good stretch, and then he's back into really struggling. So some of these young players like Hernandez, a switch hitter, getting a chance to play.
Michael Franco, the third baseman that has put Cody Ashe to the bench or to the outfield. This is one of their top young prospects, and since he was recalled on May 15th, leads their team in home runs and RBIs.
I was talking to Larry Boa about Franco, and he said, yeah, we really like him. We think he's our best young prospect. More range, better arm than Cody Ashe. And Cody Ashe, his future could be maybe at first base, but how about Cale there? He looks quite handsome in his fro.
It's a throwback night to 1961 and a celebration of the 1960s.
Reminds me of Gary Maddox. Don't laugh, Dan. Some of this stuff was my era.
Well, I'm not laughing, Al. I wouldn't do that.
And I go, why?
Here's a 1-0 pitch. Taken high. 2 balls and no strikes.
They actually send Ashe down to the minor leagues to learn how to play the outfield, and we'll probably see him in this series out in left field.
Ashe, Utley, Herrera all on their bench. Ruiz as well. And it's 3-0. Tyler Lyons in this rotation, replacing Lance Lynn, and we'll see him before looks like this road trip is through.
I'm sure Jim Hayes will tell us more about Lance.
And the 3-0 pitch. Swinging away on 3-0. Base hit out to left. Back-to-back hits.
You know, Dan, people may not quite understand this Nick statement, but you would rather have him give up that base hit than to walk him. You walk him, none of your defenders can help you, but if you get a ground ball, I mean, it just finds a hole. He hits it hard, get that ball down, and it just hits a hole in on the left side and goes on through, but make them hit their way on.
He has always hit the Cardinals well, and that's Ryan Howard. He digs in, and that is a foul ball. Ryan with a 2-out, 2-run homer off of Bud Norris in the 6th last night. Proved to be the game-winning home run and RBIs. He had entered the game hitting 162 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. And he came through with a team-leading 12th home run of the season as the Phillies snap their losing skid.
And that's been one of the things that Tyler Lyons been able to get lefties out.
I mean, he has done that since he has come up, and whether it's been in the rotation or out of the bullpen, he's been very tough on lefties.
Yeah, they're only batting 194 against him, 1 career home run against Lyons, and a lot of it has to do with that breaking ball you just saw.
There it is again, and this could be 2. Out at second, and it's a double play. Howard limping down the line. 4-6-3 on the double play. Let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Dan, you guys were mentioning Lance Lynn. Lance is on the DL with a right forearm strain. He had been resting it back in St. Louis, but Lance arrived in Philadelphia just before game time. He told me the forearm feels good and he's looking forward to getting back out there. The plan is for Lance to throw a side session just to see how it feels. If all goes well, the plan is to put him back in the rotation for a start in Florida for a game yet to be determined, guys.
All right. Thank you, Jim. So this becomes a start for Tyler Lyons as you get a look at Jason Hayward. Where, Al, you're talking about the rotation here, but who knows? Maybe the bullpen if he continues to pitch well. Hayward rips that fair past the diving Howard and into the right field corner. Hayward will stop at second base, and he has been swinging a hot bat. A home run yesterday, first at bat tonight. It's a double.
Looks like he's much more comfortable. The swing looks a lot more freer. Doesn't look like he's so tied up in his stance and starting to give dividends, and that's the best thing. It looks like, you know, his hands a little bit further away from his chest and a little bit more relaxed, and boy, he turned on that pitch. Right down the line, no chance for Howard, and the great opportunity with a leadoff double. Now it's up to the offense to bring him in.
Yadier Molina, a .319 career hitter against the Phillies. Hayward is the runner at second base. Big gap in left center. And that's well hit. Deep left field. This ball is gone. 2-run homer, Yadier Molina.
Got to get one before you can just add on, don't you? Everybody was concerned about Yachty not hitting the home run, and now all of a sudden he's got 2, and everything looks a lot better.
In tonight's game, we're participating in the Home Run Challenge. Every Cardinals home run in this game raises $12,500. You can make a pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Randall Grichuk takes a ball. 2-0 Cardinals. Second home run from Molina. RBIs 22 and 23.
Now keep on adding on.
Breaking ball drops in for a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. A curveball again. 1-2 as we go back to the home run.
Gotta be about being ready for a pitch. Inner part of the plate, just turns on it and hits it to the short field.
The Cardinals all-time here at Citizens Bank Park, 17-19. And that is their 41st home run they have hit in 37 games here. The 2-2 pitch. First strikeout of the night.
Well, this could be a bandbox here.
Can it ever?
A ball can fly here. Usually been producing better than 2 home runs per game here. And I think the Phillies haven't taken advantage of how the ball flies in their home ballpark.
In steps John Jay.
Keep it that way, right?
Absolutely. First pitch to John, and that's hit out of play. Mentioned that this right-hander is starting for Cole Hamels, who has said now that he will not go on the DL. There was some thought that that may happen. He's going to throw a bullpen session here on Sunday and would make his next then scheduled start against the Yankees next week. So the Cardinals miss him in this weekend series.
It's completely behind John Jay.
And Hamels actually cleaned out his locker to get some of his teammates, members of the media, to think he had been traded during yesterday's win over the Orioles. And he said, well, we've been battling some tough morale. I thought it'd be funny, try to distract some guys, get them loose. And Howard will take it himself. Out number 2.
Well, Dan, I think that's the thing. Everybody's expecting them to trade Cole Hamels. Another trade rumor could be Papelbon. You know, even tomorrow, Harang. You know, his numbers, particularly earlier in the season, were very, very good. But the problem the Phillies have is they have to just reload with as many prospects as possible, and they really don't have replacements.
Here's Tyler Lyons, now a 2-0 lead for the Cardinals. In the month of June, the Cardinals came in last in extra base hits. That's in the National League. And last in runs per game. We'll see if that changes here tonight and this weekend against the Phils. 3-0 the count on the pitcher Tyler Lyons. But the pitching has been so good. For instance, if the Cardinals score a minimum of 4 runs, they're 27-5. You give them some type of run support, more times than not, they are winning their games.
But it takes a toll when every day, you know, you're playing either a 1 or 2 run ball game. Makes it difficult for Mike. You know, he's got the comfort zone, which relievers he wants to use. So, like, we had 3 relievers.
Base hit into right, Tyler Lyons.
Had 3 relievers before Mitch Harris got sent out that hadn't pitched in a week. So obviously the other guys are just getting worked over, and yet the bullpen has been outstanding all season long.
4th career hit for Tyler Lyons.
Lackey likes it.
Here's Colton Wong, who grounded out to second. Good curveball that gets away, but kept in front by Cameron Rupp. And strike 1 on Colton Wong.
Wong's in a little funk. He's 0 for his last 10 and just 1 for 15 in the 4-game series. 2 at home, 2 on the road against Minnesota. But I think it's more his swing, and I think Jim Hayes has more on that later.
Here's an 0-1 pitch to Wong. Chopped foul. This ballpark opened up in 2004, and it saw 218 home runs in 04, 201 in 05. more than half of those were hit to left field. So they actually moved the wall back by 5 feet, but still considered one of the most hitter-friendly ballparks in all of Major League Baseball. We just saw that with Molina. Hit out of play by Colton Wong.
We've seen a lot of times where as the weather heats up and it's humid, the ball flies, but we also have been here in April during some of the cold spells and the ball still flies. Remember, we had a couple games where there were 6 or 7 home runs by both teams.
0-2 pitch to Colton Wong. Runner at first is the pitcher, Lyons. That's well hit. Deep right field. This ball is gone. The second 2-run homer of the inning. This time it's Colton Wong. 4-0 St. Louis.
There's your 4 runs, but I think we still want more, Dan. Colton's 8th home run, RBIs 28-29.
And it comes on an 0-2 pitch. A hanging breaking ball.
I remember he threw that first breaking ball that Colton almost hit him, and he swung at it. So he drops down way from the side. And so and that ball just middle, just hanging there. It really gives a clear view for the release point, particularly to a left-handed batter.
Now it's Matt Carpenter. They had the chance to visit with Larry Walker today, and Larry was a coach on the World Baseball Classic team of Canada that Philippe Armand pitched on. And I said, tell me about this big right-hander. And he said, throws hard, can throw hard. He said, but that right there is his biggest issue. He has no control of his breaking stuff, struggles to find the strike zone, as you mentioned. He said he's got the ability to compete at this level, but he has not been able to put it all together. And people have loved him, Larry said, because of his size, and you can see why. 6'7".
When you get rocked around a little bit too, it doesn't do much for your confidence. So he's kind of convinced himself he can be a starter at AAA, but here at the big league level, it's a different story.
1-2 on Carpenter. Larry also talked about the ability to try to put hitters away with 2 strikes, and that came into play with Colton Wong on an 0-2 pitch.
Very good point. Sounds like he knows what he's talking about, doesn't it?
You think about Tyler Lyons, a 3-2 pitch to extend the inning.
Well, we got a rally squirrel.
Oh my goodness.
Better not work against the Cardinals.
Of all places, against all teams, a squirrel in Philly. You got to be kidding me. The check swing by Carpenter, and he did not go.
There's a line somewhere there, isn't it, Dan? But we won't use it.
The fans see it, and he's just jumped onto the dugout of the Phillies, and now into the dugout of the Phillies. I've seen people that have gotten tasered here. I've never seen this. Beautiful.
And those are professional athletes that tell you how tough they are.
Game 4, 2011 Division Series. The Rally Squirrel made an appearance. Now he has made an appearance here in Philly. That was in the 5th inning with Schumacher up at the plate. There's a walk. They asked Angel Hernandez, by the way, to scratch that pitch. He said no. The Cards won the game 5-3. They eventually won the series. Charlie, I'll never forget, Charlie Manuel said, being from the South and being a squirrel hunter, if I had a gun, I might have done something. I'm a pretty good shot.
I didn't know what he said, but I knew what was coming.
This is not live.
It was dinner.
We had a camera on the squirrel. You're going to see one of the great jumps in baseball and Olympic history. All the way down to the dugout, then in the dugout. That lady looked mortified.
That's the most excitement the Phillies fans have had in quite a while.
Man. Carpenter has walked twice, and now it's Johnny Peralta, who lined out to center.
Oh, and Jim Hayes, he's hard on the squirrel story, and we'll have an interview shortly. Again,
Al, we've seen batteries thrown at J.D. Drew and the Cardinals. We saw a fan get tasered one night while we were here, and now we've seen the rally squirrel make another appearance. And a 1-0 pitch to Peralta. Johnny lined out to center, first time up. Way outside and low.
49 pitches already thrown, and here we are in the second.
Turn him loose on 3-0. We may see our third home run this inning. Peralta looks at a ball low. And the Boo Birds are out already here in Philly. Back-to-back walks, 3 in the game. And now the 9th man to come to the plate is Mark Reynolds. He lined out to short first time up. You're right, Sandberg. You have a major league debut, by the way, coming up on Sunday. You need innings.
Right. You need innings. It's been routinely, they've been having tough times with their starters. If they get to their bullpen, particularly if they can get to the back end of the bullpen, they're in good shape. Giles and Papelbon.
Matter of fact, when Giles and Papelbon pitch with a lead, they've won 26 straight.
Sure.
Bullpen had 4 scoreless innings yesterday and a win. And an 0-1 pitch to Mark Reynolds. Left-handed pitcher Adam Morgan will make his major league debut on Sunday. That's a start against Michael Wacha. Morgan 13-28 in his minor league career. He was a third-round pick in 2011 out of Alabama. Here's a 1-1 pitch with 2 runners on.
Our home plate umpire is Ron Kulpa, and congratulations to Ron. He was informed earlier this week that he'll be part of the All-Star umpiring crew.
8 men have come to the plate. 6 have reached base. We've seen 2 home runs this inning. And Reynolds right on that pitch.
You saw Reynolds the first time up, lined sharply to the shortstop. Johnny Peralta did one to center field, so even some of the outs he's gotten have been hard hit balls.
The 2-2. Reynolds chops it off the plate, hit to short, and a force play. Cardinals strand 2. They pick up 4. A pair of home runs in this inning for St. Louis. The first, Yadier Molina with Jason Hayward aboard. Then it was Lyons on a 3-2 pitch. He would single. Wong on an 0-2 pitch. Drives him in. On the right. And for Colton, that's his 8th home run. Molina, his 2nd in the past week. Here's Jeff Francoeur. Francoeur playing on his 7th. different Major League team. This past week, they had a 19-3 loss to Baltimore. At the time, it was 17-3, and they went with Francoeur to pitch. More times than not, you see a position player come in. It can be fun. It's entertaining. The game is out of reach, clearly, as he pulls this down the left field line, and a foul ball. Well, in this particular case, Jeff Francoeur came in, pitched 2 innings, 48 pitches. The bullpen phone didn't work. So what did they have to do? Well, wave the white flag. That's how things went. And I'll tell you what, Chase Utley was none too pleased with the dugout or the bench of the Phillies, as he let Bob McClure have it when he came out.
Well, he had a 1-2-3 first inning.
Here's a ground ball that's hit to third. Taken there by Carpenter for the out.
And then he had almost 50 pitches for the total. There you see Chase Utley. But I talked to Francoeur about it, and he goes, well, they went back out the second inning. I lost the adrenaline, and it was hard for me to, my arm kind of stiffened up.
Well, it makes sense, though, because how many times do you see a position player go more than 1 inning if they have to do that?
True.
Hardly ever.
Or you get into a situation like Jose Oquendo had to go 4+ innings because
with a
it ran
game,
out.
Though.
Yeah, and it was a tie game in extra innings, and he eventually lost it.
In this case, it was 17-3 when he came in.
Well, the problem is why wouldn't you just go out and tell the umpire we're having a problem, and and get somehow get the attention instead of trying to wave flags or keep on trying to call where the phone was off the hook.
Well, that's just the way things are going.
And the other thing is why wouldn't you, as a bullpen coach out there, look in and say, maybe they're looking for help?
There's a strikeout for Lyons. That's number 2. Good curveball here.
They keep on giving chances to Dominic Brown. He's just been up here for about 15 games, and he looked like he'd never faced a left-hander breaking ball.
There's Cameron Rupp, who's hitting .239, no home runs and 4 RBIs. Think about the great run the Cardinals are on. The Phillies had that type of run, not as long, but all the sellouts, the great crowds, and they decided to keep the core together, which was Jimmy Rollins until this year. Howard, Utley, Ruiz, Hamels, Cliff Lee, who's injured. And as the players have gotten older, it's gone south. They waited too long.
And Dan, they've lost more than 1.1 million fans. As they keep on dwindling, and that came after they had lengthy sellouts.
Well over 200.
Yeah, it was well over 200, almost 250 something.
There's Freddie Galvis, his switch hitting shortstop. Short lead at first by Rupp.
257 games, consecutive sellouts.
Freddie Galvis is the 5th Beatle, apparently, according to the big board here. Part of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Were you a Beatles fan at all, Al?
I must admit, I was.
There's nothing wrong with that. I love the Beatles.
Well, you know how not a music guy, but back then I knew all the words to all the songs when they came across the pond.
It's okay to admit it. Basically, the entire world likes the Beatles. Paul McCartney and Ringo.
They were something.
John Lennon.
You know, and now you think about
George Harrison.
People went crazy because they had such radical haircuts.
And now you have found the fifth Beatle, Freddie Galvis. And the fifth Beatle to Carpenter with time. No, he commits the error.
He backed up on that ball, and when you do that, you're at the mercy of the hop. Got the one that he wasn't expected, and he gets his seventh error. See him shaking his head. He can't believe it, but
this is the rotation that we were talking about in 2011. They were saying at one point could be the best rotation, one of the best ever, with Halladay, Lee, Hamels, Oswalt. And then you saw that rotation that they have here in 15. Hamels is here, Harang, Williams, O'Sullivan, tonight starter, Philippe Aumann, who's at the plate. Oh, and 2 the count.
Well, Dan, I don't know if you know about anything about hitting pitchers. There you go. Shades of Clint Eastwood. Aumann has never had a hit in his 8 professional seasons. He's 0 for 11 in the minors, and he was 0 for 1 in his only major league at bat back in August of 14. Will throw strikes.
So in his second ever major league at bat, he's gone to 3-2. The Phillies, with runners in scoring position this year, are 29th out of 30 teams in the big leagues, an average of 214. The Reds, the only team below them, an average of 208. And he walked him. The error committed by Carpenter. The walk to Aumann. Now the bases are loaded for Ben Revere, who had a chance to win a batting championship just a year ago.
He's worked on his throwing arm now, and he's considered very weak, and he'll surprise some people now just by working on it, make it more respectable.
Team leader in hitting at 280. First pitch is in the dirt. Now time is called, and Derek Lilliquist and Yadier Molina out to visit. That's how you let a team back in. You've got the air, then you walk the pitcher.
Absolutely. You got to be careful. If you're Ben Revere, after they go out and tell him, hey, don't be trying to be too fine, just look for a fastball and give it a whack. But another aspect, too, you know, young pitchers sometimes they'll relax a little bit after an error is committed, especially with 2 outs. They say, well, that would have been the 3rd out. If anything scores, it's an unearned run. You see how he's pitched much better on the road than at home, but I think he's probably better suited as a reliever, Tyler Lyons. We'll talk about a little more about that next inning.
And the 1-0. Gets the call. 1 ball, 1 strike. Revere didn't like it.
I don't think the crowd did either.
Well, the thing is, too, with Ben Revere, you have to earn it against him. Strikes out only once per 9, and the 6th hardest to strike out in the National League. Now he's got him at 1-2.
Struck out the first time and looked bad on a breaking ball like that. He is #1 in the National League in triples with 6, so may not be able to hit the ball at the ballpark, but he can run.
Held on to by Molina, no. Foul ball.
Revere's had success against the Cardinals, 318 in his career, and this year he's 4 for 12.
And the 1-2 pitch. Tapped out in front of the plate. That'll roll foul. One and two the count. Lions got the first two. Francoeur grounded out. Then it was a strikeout of Dominic Brown. Rupp a single. Galvis reached on the air. A walk to the pitcher. And now the bases loaded. 1-2 the count on Ben Revere. And a fly ball lifted into center. Going back is Jay. Plenty of room. He's got it. Lions and the Cardinals out of a jam. Alley, which is located behind the center field wall. Hall of Fame center fielder who played for the Phillies in the late 40s. Been a broadcaster for 4 decades. There's a look at the all-time hits leaders. Pete Rose at over 4,200. Ty Cobb, then Aaron and Musial. Tris Speaker, Derek Jeter, 6 all-time. And A-Rod has tied Roberto Clemente with 3,000 hits, and he does it with a home run. He's the 3rd player of the 29 to join the 3,000 hit club to hit a home run.
Do it in style, right?
Wade Boggs did that with Tampa. Derek Jeter did it back in 2011. There's only 5 players that have 500 home runs and 3,000 hits. So you get a look at Hayward, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Eddie Murray, Rafael Palmeiro, and now Alex Rodriguez. 1 ball, 1 strike. If you're wondering, the next closest to get to 3,000 is Ichiro. We'll see him on this road trip with Miami. He's had 2,886 hits. But you have to remember he also had over 1,200 hits playing in Japan, so he has over 4,000 hits in his professional career.
Yeah, it's you have to take that in consideration and realize what a great hitter he was and still is. And I'm glad that nationally he's getting a chance to see him.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Inside corner, and Hayward is down on strikes. Second strikeout for this right-hander.
Little tailback action.
Adrian Beltre is 36 years old. He's had 2,657 hits. Albert Pujols at the age of 35 is just over 2,500. Molina is homered tonight, a 2-run homer. And he pops that foul with 1 out here at the top of the 3rd.
I would say Albert's going to get there.
I agree. Ground ball that's pulled foul. Molina's home run was only the 8th for the Cardinals this year with a runner in scoring position.
That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Only 8. Fewest in Major League Baseball.
Amont's already reached a career high in pitches thrown. He's at 62 after this one. His career high was 53 in a relief effort in August of last year. Remember, he wasn't even on the roster. He was taken off the roster, the 40-man roster. So now to making his first Major League start.
That's it out of play. Molina closing in on a milestone too. He's too shy of 100 home runs for his what looks to be Hall of Fame career. RBI total up to 23. Here's a 1-2 pitch taken low in the dirt.
And the Cardinals hoping to have a very successful stay here in Philadelphia and pick up some ground as Pittsburgh is at Washington.
minus Bryce Harper. He was hurt last night.
Sort of a mild hamstring, or not sure how bad, but
he said it was better today when he got to the ballpark. And that's good for baseball. I mean, it's a good thing to see him play, at least in my opinion.
And the Nationals are leading 2-1 early in the third off of Pittsburgh.
Inside on Molina, walk number 4 as Philip Oman is walked 4 and recorded 7 outs. All-Star balloting still available for you on your computer, tablet, and smartphone. Visit Cardinals.com/vote. Strike 2, Randall Grichuk. Yankees really didn't celebrate number 660, the home run hit by Rodriguez to tie him with Willie Mays. But yet there was not an inclusion of a bonus if he got to 3,000 hits. So this has been celebrated a little bit more by the Yankees. $6 million in question because of that milestone of the home runs. It's funny how that works out.
Yeah, what could have been.
To the count on Randall Grichuk.
God, he almost had a walking lead and took off and wouldn't have been able to steal easily.
As we know, not a fast runner, but a smart runner, and he'll get his share of stolen bases because of that.
Because of that, just people forget about you.
Very short lead at first base. Molina with no steals this year. Long look, the 1-2 in the dirt. Molina thought about going to second and stays put.
Dan, I played with a big guy, slow of foot. He was an outfielder catcher, Joe Ferguson, and he always felt like he could steal at least 10 bases every year just by taking advantage of people that would think, oh, he's not going to run, and pick your spots.
Also seen him with a delayed steal too.
Sure, yeah, Yachty quite a bit with that.
As recent as 2012, Molina had 12 steals, which would surprise some. 2-2 pitch, fouled back, and a good cut.
It's nice to go around the league, and people are starting to take notice of Randall Grichuk, and now they really are intrigued by his athleticism, the power package.
Your conversations with the Phillies personnel, were they talking about Grichuk?
Yeah, same thing. When we were in Minnesota talking with Paul Molitor, he noticed Grichuk in spring training. But we're starting to say, hey, this kid's got a chance. I know he has the ability to be maybe something special.
A 3-2 pitch inside, and it's a walk. So back-to-back walks with one out here in the third. Some more boos, and the 5th walk issued by Philippe Armand.
Bob McClure, the pitching coach, another slow walk out to talk to his 6'7" pitcher.
Bob pitched in St. Louis, you may recall, the early 1990s, 1991 and 92. He was in St. Louis.
A lot of different American League clubs, and had one of the best pickoff moves. Left-hander, but had a great pickoff move, and guys would get on first base, and the coach would say, don't even take a lead. And usually when they took about a 6-inch lead, thinking, well, there's no way he's going to throw over, that's when he got him.
Isn't that amazing how some guys had that ability?
Yeah.
Smarts.
Warren Spahn, the first time I ever worked with Warren Spahn, was a Cardinal manager in the minor leagues in my first construction league. He wanted to work on my move, and I said, Mr. Spahn, I think that's very important, but I'd like to keep him from getting on base.
Can you help me there?
He didn't work on that with me.
John Jay hits it sharply to second base. 4-6. 3. Double play.
Lions' first pitch to this next batter, Cesar Hernandez. His last 4 batters, he started them all each off with a ball. Get ahead with the count, and it makes your job a lot easier.
Lions was able to strand the bases loaded in the second inning. Hernandez a single to center past the diving Johnny Peralta. 5 of 10 first pitch strikes so far. We saw another very good outing yesterday in Minnesota from Jaime Garcia. He's become the tough luck starter for the Cardinals. Jaime 6 starts and a 1.76 ERA. All 6 starts have been quality starts.
You know, Dan, there's quality and there's really quality, and his have all been really quality. And
not just the definition of a quality start.
Yeah, I mean, he very easily could be 6-0. Team was shut out in 3 of them. The bullpen blew the win for him yesterday.
In 4 of the starts, he's gone 7 or more innings.
Yeah.
Goodbye. 3rd strikeout for Tyler Lyons.
So he fell behind on his 5th straight batter with the first pitch, but he came back to get him out.
Lyons is a 27-year-old from Lubbock, Texas. 5th start of the year, 17th start of his career. As Al told you, he's so good against left-handers. 194 the average coming in his career at this level.
And I think he's smart enough. He's been around a long time to not let the distraction of Lance Lynn being in that dugout, and the possibility that, okay, he doesn't make another start, Lance Lynn will assume his normal spot once again next week in Miami. But what I think is he should be looking at the fact that I'm insurance, but I'm also a spot for the bullpen. And I say that, Dan, because we have 2 lefties right now. One's the situational lefty that you're only bringing in Schote from one batter. Segris has kind of inherited the 8th inning spot, and you let him face righties and lefties. So it really would be beneficial to have another lefty down there.
Got him. Back-to-back strikeouts, and number 4 tonight for Tyler Lyons.
And would really help out because Tyler is capable of going multiple innings, getting lefties and righties out himself. But it would give a lot more managerial flexibility to have a 3rd left-hander in the bullpen.
Want to know the count on Ryan Howard. Good curveball there. The slider, the curve, breaking pitch.
He spots his fastball well enough. He goes in and out, up and down. But that breaking ball, he has good command of.
Here's a 1-1. Ryan is 4 home runs away from 350 in his career. Former MVP. 2-1 pitch. Didn't like that call, and it's now 2-2. The shift is on here for Howard. All kinds of room to the left side. We were watching him run, though, down that first base line, still with a limp. That pitch is popped up and out of play. And the reason why, we flash back, 2 sides to every story. Never more true than here. The torn Achilles, Cardinals off to the National League Championship Series. They would win the World Series. in the beginning of the end of a great run for the Philadelphia Phillies. Howard went down. The Cardinals advanced. Before the injury, Ryan Howard was first in all of baseball in the fewest at bats per home run. Averaged 1 every 13. Averaged 1 RBI every 4 at bats. And then in the post injury years for Ryan Howard, he's dropped to 38th that home run department, 18th in the RBI department. It's had a significant hindrance on his career as he skies this into center field. John Jay under it. He's got it. And a 1-2-3 for Tyler Lyons, his first tonight. 76. A key at bat in this game was Tyler Lyons. He had the pitcher up there with 2 outs in the second inning. At that time, a 2-0 lead, and Tyler would single on a 3-2 pitch to right field. Just his 4th major league hit. And then it was Colton Wong with a 2-run homer. That made it 4-0, and that's where we stand right now. Just little things of being able to retire a pitcher and how that comes into play here.
Absolutely. Extended that inning, and then the 2-run bomb with 2 outs. Cardinals only have 4 hits, but they have 5 walks. And Dan, that's something that this Cardinal offense could do more of. They should have more walks also.
The 5 tonight, the Cardinals up to over 200 this year, but that's only in the middle of the pack of the National League. Find it incredibly interesting. You have 5 walks in 3 innings. None of the walks came around to score. It was a double by Hayward.
6.
Then the home run, then a single by Lyons and a home run as we check in with Jim Hayes.
Dan, Colton Wong told me before the game he had figured out something wrong with his swing. Over his previous 8 games, Colton was hitting just 133, 4 for 30. He told me his front leg was leaking out, as he explained with his big leg kick. If his front leg moves too early, his hands lag behind. He says the result, lazy fly balls and weak groundouts. He said he was working with John Mabry on getting his swing back in sync, and he felt like he had done it. Dan, so far, he looks right.
And Jimmy homered on a 0-2 pitch. And that was only his 2nd career home run in that count, and a lifetime 183 hitter with a count of 0-2. That made it 4-0.
And a good cut right there.
When I was talking with Larry Walker about this right-hander, he said that Greg Hamilton, that pitch is to the backstop, and this is hard to watch. But Greg Hamilton, the director and GM of Team Canada, wanted to get this right-hander more upright. As you mentioned, Al, they were having him throw sidearm.
Yeah. I was talking with Larry Anderson about that. It's almost like if you're 6'7", take advantage of it and throw in a downward plane by bending over and throwing more sidearm. You're diffusing that and act like a smaller guy. But he said he is a little more erect than he had been, but he's still, you can see he's more like a 3/4 release.
One ball and 2 strikes. Nobody out. Runner at second base is Lyons. McCameron Rupp is getting beat up behind home plate. And yet there is no activity in the bullpen. We had a shot of Ryan Sandberg. You have to wonder what's going through his mind right now. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Let's hope the bullpen phone is working. The 2-2. Ground ball to second base, taken there by Cesar Hernandez. In steps Carpenter, who has reached base twice via the walk.
Nice to see a pitcher right there, just is an athlete. You know, he was an all-state quarterback in high school in the state of Texas. Took advantage, got in a scoring position on the wild pitch, and then on the ground ball to the right side, gets over to third. More ways to, and with this guy on the mound, you know, it's a high percentage. He might throw another one to the backstop.
Yeah, Tyler in Lubbock, Texas, worked with what would be an eventual coach at Oklahoma State, and that's where he went on to pitch collegiately. Infield is in. Carpenter takes a ball. Mentioned it earlier, Mitch Harris and Ed Easley sent down. Xavier Scruggs and Greg Garcia called up. Scruggs, the Cardinals Player of the Month for April in the minor leagues. Garcia was hitting .313 in the PCL, 12th best.
He was the Player of the Month for May, right?
Greg was telling me he was playing every day at shortstop. They're trying to get him more accustomed to that position. I said, what's been the biggest difference for you at short as opposed to second? And he said, no room for error with the quickness of that position. Second base, sometimes you can knock a ball down and still get a man, but that's not the case at short. 1-1.
And hopefully Greg Garcia will stick with the club long enough to when we get out to the West Coast again and see Grandpa. Dave Garcia, just a real prince, light baseball lifer. I actually played for him when he was managing a club in the Winter League down in Mexico. Went to the Caribbean World Series with him, but just one of my favorites.
2-1 pitch. Greg said his dad texted him and said, this is the best Father's Day gift I could possibly get, and it comes tonight, finding out you've been called back up to the big leagues.
Great.
I love his attitude, too. He said, I'm not coming in as wide open-eyed as I was last year. Just happy to be here. He said, I really want to contribute and do something and stick. Carpenter draws his third walk. That is 7 tonight from this right-hander. 7. When he has not recorded an out here in the fourth.
7 walks ties season high for St. Louis this year, and it's all by one pitcher, the starter. And we're in the fourth.
What was your scouting report, Al? What did it say?
I said something about don't swing, just take the walks. But be patient. Go up there, he'll walk you. He also walked 7 times on April the 30th versus the Phillies. So kind of a young, inexperienced staff, and part of that is they don't throw strikes.
And you're asking why is he still in the game? Because the relievers are tired. Their last 3 games, they have used at least 4 relievers in each of those games. Here's Johnny Peralta. Looks at a ball. The ERA, by the way, in 15 1/3 innings by the bullpen, those relievers, near 7.
I think Papelbon only had 1 save opportunity in about like 3 weeks.
1-0 pitch. 2-0. Again, no one is getting loose in the pen. They're not even stretching at this point out there for the Phillies. Here's a 2-0 pitch.
I mean, and think about it, Dan. You know, either they say he's our best option the way he's pitching right now, or we don't want to bring in somebody in a 4-0 game, still early in the game, that we think we have a chance to come back.
2-1 pitch. That's ripped into left center field, all the way to the wall. 1 run will score. Here comes Matt Carpenter. He will score. And with that, it's a 6-0 St. Louis lead as Peralta drives in RBIs 36 and 37.
Way to go, Johnny. And there goes your stat with all the walks that nobody's come around to score, because 2 of the 7 now has scored on this one. It's a solid line drive out into left center. once it split the outfielders and you saw that it was going to go to the wall, you knew that Carpenter was going to score all the way to first base. Our Lions have scored twice already in this ball game.
So Peralta gets into the hit column. Now it's Reynolds. The only two not to have reached base are Mark Reynolds and John Jay.
Reynolds has done a nice job in replacing Matt Adams. But, at his age, he probably could use a little breather, and maybe that's why Scruggs is getting the call.
0-1 pitch. Oof. We'd love to have that one back. 6 is a serious number. The Cardinals have scored 6, so get any size coffee, fountain, or frozen drink tomorrow for just 50 cents at your local On the Run. You know why? I'll tell you why. You earned it.
Reynolds has played in all 21 games since Adams got hurt late May.
Here's an 0-2. Misses low. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Reynolds can't drive him in. Cardinals are 16-1 in games when Reynolds has an RBI.
And he waves at that pitch and strikes out. 3rd strikeout for this right-hander. It had been 12 games since the Cardinals scored more than 4 runs. You have to go back to the 7 runs that they scored back on June 4th at Dodger Stadium. So 12 games ago, and they were due.
Well, that's it, Dan. The Cardinals are 27-5, as you said, when they score 4 runs or more. But that means, they're playing so many games under 4. (16-18) when scoring 3 runs or less, and you're playing so many 1-run, 2-run ball games. There's just, the pitching staff has done an outstanding job, but there's just no margin for error.
Six to nothing Cardinals as Hayward takes a pitch in the dirt. He doubled into the right field corner to lead off the 2nd inning. Past the diving Ryan Howard. Philippe Oman already at 100 pitches. Hayward struck out looking back in the 3rd. 1 ball, 1 strike. Peralta the runner at second base. That's ripped down the right field line, and it is foul.
And your laundry on that one.
Well, he's been hanging that breaking ball, hasn't he?
Yeah. 3rd time through, these guys are getting pretty good looks at it. Could you imagine this game if the Cardinals went to the bullpen before the Phillies?
And also, that stat tells you a little bit about what Larry Walker was saying, the ability to put hitters away. He's had 15 of 23 first pitch strikes.
But can't slip the 3rd one by him. I will walk him.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Fouled back. Relax on. It's not going to reach the booth, and I got you covered. Now I feel I have to protect you at all times. The way you've gotten jumpy the last couple of years.
Thank you, Dan.
Here to help. Still, my hand hurts from that game in Milwaukee, though. A couple of years ago. Protecting you. Here's a 1-2. You're shaking your head.
I'm just trying to think of the appropriate response. I think anything I say I shouldn't say.
Save it for the commercial break. Two and two the count on Hayward. Uh-oh. Deep right center field. Did he get enough? And he did not. In front of the track, the catch is made by Dominic Brown. And boy, Hayward just missed that. Sitting on a tee. Francoeur grounded out to third, first time up, and he hits a rope out to left, and the catch is made by Randal Grichuk.
That was a rocket, but Randal Grichuk went back on it. We know he's a very good outfielder and reaches up at the last second to haul that line drive in, making a very nice play. That ball was scorched. But watch Randal, and then at the last second reaches up right as he's hitting the warning track.
And in steps Dominic Brown. I was talking with Randal the other day, and I asked him, I said, what outfield spot do you prefer? He said, it's not so much preference. He said, I enjoy all three. And it's not about being more comfortable in one as opposed to the other. He said, I just like the fact that when you're in center field, you're responsible for so much more of the ground to cover. And he said, I like that responsibility. I feel I have the speed to cover the ground, good enough arm. But we've seen him in center, now in left. He's played right, and he is a plus defender at all three spots.
Yeah, and he's just going to get better. He's still very young, getting a lot of experience. He'll go through some growing pains, particularly as a hitter, but you can always have that defense show up day after day.
And he said that ball that was just hit to him like that, those have been the hardest for him in left field. It's about not taking a false step coming in or being frozen on a line drive. Popped up. Carpenter calling for it. And he has it in foul territory.
Just getting under that high pitch like that. Just pop up. Dominic Brown. Really has struggled. You know, he was almost given the job a couple years ago, broke his wrist, and it's been a struggle ever since.
And a ball down and in to Cameron Rupp, who's hitting .239. He's singled to left, first time up. This has to be so tough on Ryne Sandberg. 55-year-old. One of two Hall of Famers managing right now in the big leagues. The other we just saw, Paul Molitor. That's a base hit to left.
Up to 2 for 2.
Hey, you think about it, Al, guys that have had great success at this level, where for some it came, I don't know if easy is the right word, but it came easier for them than others. Ryne Sandberg is a 10-time All-Star. He won 9 Gold Gloves, 7 Silver Sluggers, and he's watching this night after night. It cannot be easy.
Well, the one thing that has working for him is no one's blaming him. He's saying that he doesn't have the materials to work with. But it's always been stated kind of a, you know, there are exceptions all the time, but they say Hall of Famers do not make good managers because they can't stand or they can't tolerate mediocrity. They're just so easy and used to excelling, they can't understand why others can't do the same thing.
Freddie Galvis, the switch hitting shortstop. And that's Odubel Herrera on deck.
They really like him. He's a Rule 5 pick, but they think he's got some talent.
Justin DeFreitas getting loose in the pen, and that's lined foul. The Phillies last year were 73-89. First time they had finished in last place since 2000. Missed the playoffs now for 3 consecutive years. That's a far cry from their run of 07 to 2011. The 5 division titles, couple of pennants, a World Series. Place was packed. It was vibrant, but now they're in strictly a rebuild mode.
And they're in the tough kind of rebuild mode because you don't have a farm system. You know, and you're running out of talent here at this level. Larry Bowa just shaking his head. I only wish I could tell you some of the things he told me about what he thought the Phillies were. What to expect this 3 games. He's ever been shy in speaking the truth.
This is Larry's 50th year associated with Major League Baseball and his 31st with the Philadelphia Phillies.
I used to love when the old ballpark, the bullpen was out in left field, and you could see the great shortstop Larry Bowa and his frustrations.
That's hit down the left field line, and it is a foul ball.
And Larry Bowa made himself a great hitter. I mean, I'm not saying a great hitter, but he made himself a very good major league player. The defensive skills were always there, but he ended up being a solid enough batter. Billy DeMars was the hitting coach, and Billy DeMars had like a couch in a basement, and they let Bowa physically get stronger and beat up on that couch, trying to learn how to hit.
You know, Larry Bowa back in the 1980 World Series against Kansas City, he started 7 double plays against the Royals in that World Championship year. Matter of fact, he's second in the National League in games played behind Ozzie Smith at shortstop. And a fly ball lifted to left field. Richick is back in with room and puts it away. This weekend series, the starter for the Phils with 7 walks, Philippe Aumann, and the last time a pitcher walked 7 Cardinals in a game, Esmil Rogers of Colorado back in August of 2011. A new franchise record, 24 consecutive games without a win for the starting rotation of the Phillies.
And the Cardinals had 7 walks in the 4 games against Minnesota. And
total.
7 total in the 4 games. And 7 walks here tonight. So
here's Yadier Molina. He's had a good night with a 2-run homer and a walk. Justin DeFreitas is the new pitcher. So Chevy called to the pen. The numbers on the right-hander this year. Phillies took DeFreitas in the 11th round of 2007, 353rd pick overall.
So DeFreitas' numbers there, the fastball, slider, changeup, primarily everything hard with the fastballs and sliders.
Andres Blanco takes over at second base. Misses on the inside corner.
But Blanco will lead off in the bottom of the 5th, and DeFreitas is put in the 8th spot in the order.
The 3-2 pitch. Molina spoils it.
Hernandez moves to short.
(3-2) is a base hit into right field. Molina is on base for the 3rd time, and he's 2 for 2.
Like that piece of hitting as much as like the 2-run home run he hit in the 2nd. And he's walked in between, so on base 3 times. There you see Blanco, who is now at second base, and then Hernandez, who started at second, is now at shortstop. And Freddie Galvis is out. So the pitcher's hitting in the 8th spot.
Runner at first is Molina. Grichuk bounces it up the middle. That's a single. The first 2 have reached the Cardinals' half of the 5th. Second time Grichuk has been aboard to go along with a walk and a strikeout.
DeFreitas has been pitching very well, but here the first 2 hitters reach base. For his last 10 appearances, he's posted a 0.70 whip, 1 walk, 6 hits, and 10 innings pitched with 12 strikeouts. Actually is much tougher on left-handed batters than righties.
Runners at first and second for John Jay. Little squibber and a base hit into left field. Bases are loaded for the Cardinals. Jay will take it. He's 1 for 3 on the night.
Tyler Lyons, he's going to wear himself out as a hitter. Martinez is saying, where's all these runs when I pitch? It's just a little squibber, comes off the bat and kept on slicing away from Hernandez and into left field for the 3rd consecutive hit.
Bases loaded. Tyler Lyons at the plate. First pitch is strike. Cardinals trying to add to their 6-0 lead. Outfield shading Lyons into left and a big gap in right center. Here's an 0-1 pitch to the Cardinals starter tonight. Check swing. One ball, 1 strike. Here's a 1-1. One ball and 2 strikes on Tyler Lyons with the bases loaded.
Tyler singled back in the 2nd inning and scored on the 2-run home run by Colton Wong. Then he walked and scored back in the 4th. And here he's got a chance to put the game away.
The 2-2. Lyons a base hit into left field. 1 run is in. That's Molina. 2-hit night for Tyler Lyons. Grichuk held up. It's 7-0 Cardinals. 4 consecutive singles to begin the 5th inning.
It's his first RBI of his career. And just put the ball in play. Good things can happen. Almost defensive swing. You just saw him really kind of pop his wrist at the end. Just hit it and guide it towards left field.
Now it's Colton Wong, who has a 2-run homer back in the 2nd inning. Still nobody out. So as Al mentioned, his first Major League RBI for Tyler Lyons. And Major League hits 4 and 5 have come tonight. He's also walked and scored 2 runs. And the 0-1 pitch to Wong.
Colton talking about his high leg kick, his leg drifting and not staying in sync with his upper body. When he gets out there a little bit and pulling off the pitches, then that kind of have a natural dip, and that's why he was popping balls up or little ground balls rolling over. He had 2 ground balls to second base and a 2-run home run.
Every Cardinal in this lineup has reached base with the exception of Mark Reynolds. This is the kind of game that maybe you are able to get some guys that need work in the bullpen out there. Maybe welcome back Garcia and Scruggs to the big leagues. Again, Rupp had to block that.
Tukolovich, hasn't pitched in a long time. So, I mean, there's different guys that go out there and get some work. You're almost getting back to the point where Rosenthal wasn't available for a couple days. Then you had a couple of off days and where you didn't need him. And now you're kind of back to where you want to use him again before it gets too rusty.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. The strikeout of Wong. DeFreitas gets his. Three walks for Carpenter tonight and a run scored. Bases loaded for Matt. Pretty good numbers with this spot. You look at Carpenter, and yes, he's not hitting above 300 anymore, but he's hitting .442 with runners in scoring position. On base percentage is 10th in the National League. 9th in runs scored. 2nd in doubles. 2nd in multi-hit games. 1-1 pitch.
Walked 3 times tonight. Mentioned that DeFreitas has better success against lefties. The career average lefties are hitting under 200, and this year lefties are 8 for 50.
Outfield is straight away, and here's a 2-1 pitch. Carpenter with a base hit into right field. A run will score. RBI number 33, and that makes it 8-0. DeFreitas saw that little squibber off the bat of Jay. This one wasn't hit hard, but found a hole for Matt Carpenter. And it's all Cardinals here tonight.
Sometimes as a pitcher, you'd rather a guy hit one off the wall than to just quail it. The little spinner that just gets over the infield, those are more hurtful than a hard hit ball.
And the bases remain loaded. Peralta has a double and a pair of RBIs back in the 4th. He is also walked. Here's an 0-1 pitch to Peralta. The Cardinals will face Aaron Harang tomorrow, and then on Sunday we'll see a major league debut by a young left-hander that's had problems in the minor leagues in terms of the win-loss record. So good chance here for St. Louis to put up some wins. Well on their way here in game number 1. 0-2 pitch.
See Johnny getting a very good look at it. Saw that ball just at the bottom. Could have been called either way. Went Johnny's way.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Fouled back. I'm sure some folks may have just joined us. If you have, there are no names on the back of the jerseys as we celebrate the 1960s. It's a throwback weekend here in Philly. Specifically 1961 here tonight. That's why you do not see the names on the back of the jerseys. Here's a 1-2 pitch to Peralta. Ground ball, and that's pulled foul.
And Dan, I doubt the Phillies would want to remember the 1964 pennant race where the Phils blew a huge lead. And the Cardinals, there was like 4 clubs that were vying for that, the league championship, but Gene Mott kept on going with 2 starters.
That ball scoots away and a run will not score. Everybody stays put. It was a 6.5 game lead for the Phils on Cincinnati with 12 games remaining. The Phillies collapsed in a 10-game losing streak in which the first 7 of the 10 were played at home. And the crucial series, when the Phillies played the Cardinals in St. Louis, they were swept in 3 games. And then the Phils, you may remember, they still had a chance to force a 3-way tie after the Cardinals dropped the first 2 of their last series to the Mets. However, the Cardinals won their last game. The Phils and Reds finished 1 game out. Hence your 1964 epic collapse of the Philadelphia Phillies.
So I don't think they're going to want to celebrate that year.
No, sir. 3-2 pitch with the bases loaded. I mean, think about the Mets, too. Their collapses 2006 and 07. Matched the walk total, as Al told you, and now they have matched the runs total in the 4 games against the Twins.
Yeah, 4 games. And the Twins, remember, were really struggling.
3-2 again. In the air, out to right, pretty well hit, and the catch is made. Runners will tag up from second and third. 9-0 Cardinals on an RBI for Johnny Peralta, his 3rd tonight, and he's up to 38 this season. Mark Reynolds has lined out, grounded out, and struck out. Runners at first and third. Cardinals scored 4 in the second, 2 in the 4th, and 3 more here in the top of 5, and they lead it 9-0.
Not sure what if Reynolds has had any success against Harang, tomorrow's starter, but it might be a good time to give him a little rest. He's 0 for his last 10. He was just 3 for 15 in the 4-game Minnesota series, so 3 for his last 18.
And Reynolds is 3 for 16, by the way, against Aaron Harang.
So maybe Scruggs will get a start tomorrow, and just the fact that Mark's been playing every day could use a little time off.
There's a drive into deep right center field. This ball will carry, and it's off the top of the wall. 1 run will score. Here comes another. 11-0 St. Louis on a double off the very top of the wall from Mark Reynolds.
And maybe we want to keep his bat in the lineup, but now he is joined the hit parade with the other Cardinals. They've been the only Cardinal not to reach base tonight, but not only does he reach base, but he gets a double and 2 RBIs, 23 and 24. Fastball top of the strike zone, and he misses a home run by, half a fence length? About the middle of that defense there.
Cardinals needed a game like this, didn't they?
Yes, they did. I mean, they need this just so everybody could kind of relax, just enjoy themselves, and keep on putting your foot down. But it's not like in those games when you know what, the Cardinals prior to yesterday had 3 straight 3-2 ball games. Then yesterday was a 1-run game until the last inning, where every time you throw a pitch, it could determine the outcome.
And a ground ball that's hit sharply to first base. Ryan Howard is there. Cardinals put up 5 on DeFreitas here in the 5th. They lead it 11 hits and an 11-0 lead.
11 runs on 11 hits and 1 error. We got a what's on tap.
John Lackey and Aaron Harang, so a pair of veteran right-handers going tomorrow. Lackey is 5-4. All right, play manager here, Al. You've got this 11-0 lead. Might be a good time to get some of those regulars out, get them rested up. Think about tomorrow. Also, reintroduce the minor leaguers that have come up. Maybe get a little bullpen work at some point for those that need it.
Well, definitely. But Tyler Lyons has to qualify this inning for the win. He's been very busy. He's scattered, 4 hits? He's only walked 1 man, struck out 4. But he's been busy on the base paths.
Andres Blanco. There's Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt there in the middle. Ruben Amaro, general manager, on the right.
That's Pat Gillick just down the bottom there in the green shirt. He is a great baseball man, Hall of Fame executive, and kind of overseeing things here, and doesn't look like a happy group.
Don't blame him.
No.
Long year, tough night. Mike Schmidt, one of the great all-time hitters.
548. That's the home run total. And a great third baseman.
Yeah, 20 years ago, he was elected to the Hall of Fame plaque here at the ballpark. He had the 4th highest voting percentage ever. Nearly 97% for Mike Schmidt.
How could that be when he gets booed in his own ballpark?
I don't know if you saw this. He wrote an article recently here in the papers about the shift, and I found it really interesting what he had to say. But the premise of it was, look, you're not going to teach a guy like Ryan Howard to change what he's done for years. There's a base hit into right field for Ben Revere. But you might be able to change others that are in the minor leagues or even in college. Some college teams are using the shift. And his premise was, look, the days of just sitting back and driving the ball and saying, look, I'm going to hit it wherever I hit it. He said that might be done. You're going to have to learn to hit the ball the other way or learn how to hit against whatever defensive shift is put on that potential hitter. And the interesting part about this is that more and more teams are doing that in the minor leagues. So we're seeing the scouting at the major league level, also at the minor league level, with shifts and data and video that maybe wasn't even there 5 years ago.
Yeah, it makes total sense to start teaching how to combat shifts. And I'll tell you, as a pitcher, if I've got a dead pull hitter up there, he's easy to pitch to. But if you got a guy that'll spray the ball around, hit it to all fields, you've got to make adjustments, and you can't stay in one location. You can't just pound in on a guy. You got to move that ball around and everything because he's going to make that adjustment and hit it to the opposite field. And as you say, it's even more important to do that if they have shifts on and giving you free base hits. So I like that.
And he also talked about, he said, look, as crazy as it may sound, but it is a guy like Ryan Howard. He said he wouldn't do it now at the age of 35 and with the Achilles, but you also are going to have to teach these big power hitters to bunt.
I was just thinking that.
He said if you can put down a bunt, and let's say you get 10 to 15 extra base hits a year, think about the difference in your average at the end of the season and your scoring opportunities. It makes a lot of sense.
Makes absolute sense.
I don't know if you saw this last night when we talk about the differences in the game, but Terry Francona with the Cleveland Indians. There was a rain delay,
Yep.
6th inning, bases loaded. They come back out from the rain delay. He brings in his closer.
Is it 5th inning?
I think it was the 6th,
Okay,
but it was
but
midway
either
through
one,
the game.
yeah.
And that's ripped down the left field line and a fair ball. Rivera can really run. And they're going to hold him up at third. The boos.
Now, when you're down 11-0, you don't want to get somebody thrown out at third base or at home plate. So there's only one out.
But the point of it was bringing in your closer in a high leverage situation, not in a prototypical situation for a closer, but high leverage.
And what he did is he got out of that inning. He pitched the next inning and then turned it over his bullpen and got the win. But I've had talks with Whitey Herzog. Whitey said to me one time, he said,
I love it.
I would have a hard time managing today if I had to hold back my best pitcher if I thought the game was on the line in, say, the 7th inning.
I agree.
And I think if you, particularly if you've given a guy already a big contract, now you say, okay, you've gotten paid. Now I'm going to ask you to be a team player. And I want you to be ready to, on those occasions, not every occasion, but we're going to have some times where I'm going to ask to bring you in before and maybe deny you a save opportunity, but the game's on the line before. That's why sometimes, we see the guy coming in the 7th, 8th inning has a much tougher relief appearance than the closer coming in the 8th inning protecting a 3-run lead.
Couldn't agree more. And so here's your shift for Ryan Howard with runners at 2nd and 3rd.
Old days, if you took out your starter, you brought in a bullpen guy, he pitched until he, got in trouble. You didn't take him out just because there was a save situation. If he was doing the job, he finished.
Look at our Kia in the driver's seat. There's our Kia in the driver's seat. Ryan Howard against St. Louis. You just saw Yadier Molina tell Lions, make sure you're watching Ben Revere. No one at third base because of the shift. Carpenter's on the second base side of the bag. So he can just walk on home.
Straight steal of home.
Even how Molina has to throw the ball back to Lyons, he's got to throw it much harder than normal to get it back to him. Howard with a high fly ball down the right field line, and it's gone. 3-run homer, Ryan Howard.
We just showed you the numbers for Howard. He gets a breaking ball here, didn't get far enough away, but that is now his 21st home run and 64 RBIs when he's facing Cardinal pitching, and adds to that 351 batting average.
Outside to Jeff Rancourt.
Tyler Lyons has been on base 3 times. He's scored 3 runs with his 2 hits and a walk, and maybe taking a little toll on him here this inning.
Last time a Cardinals pitcher scored 3 runs in a game, it was Matt Morris prior to tonight back in 2003. Popped up. It's playable. And put away by Mark Reynolds. A 3-run homer by Howard gets the Phils on the board. 3. So 13 home runs for Howard, most on this Phillies club, 33 RBIs. Also the most on the Phillies. Here's Yadier Molina as we wait for the Philly fanatic to get off the field.
He's helping the Beatles in between innings. So.
It's a good crew they had down there. Molina, a home run, a 2-run shot back in the second inning. And this pitch is popped up out of play. He also walked in the third and began the inning in the fifth with a single off DeFreitas. DeFreitas gave up 4 hits to 4 consecutive batters. Then he got a strikeout. The 5th hit by Carpenter. That's hit to the right side. Nice play here by Blanco. 1 down. They gave up 6 hits in the inning. Andres Blanco checked in 2 innings ago and makes a nice play to his left.
And made a nice play right there. Took another hit away from Yadi. Would have been his 3rd and 4th time on. Villanueva is warming up in the bullpen. And I'm sure even if the Cardinals don't get the Lions spot, I'm sure he'll come in to pitch.
Here's Randall Grichuk, who struck out. He's also walked and singled to center and scored. Ooh, off the mask of Rupp. He's had a tough night, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. A lot of balls in the dirt. Right there. It's another whiplash. They say that's almost the best way to explain what it's like to be a catcher and take a foul ball right to the mask. Because of Mike Matheny, you know, is one of the proponents of the 7-day concussion disablement. And think about all those guys for years and years that took so many shots. They didn't have the, whether the hockey style mask or these other masks with a little more protection. So you wonder about some of those guys.
See Rupp banging the dirt on the inside corner, sets up outside and just missed his spot.
I'm trying to tell a hitter, that we're leaning inside, we're going to come in just a little deep for them. But don't peek around to see.
That's well hit, deep left field, off the bat of Grichuk, way out of here. It's another Cardinals home run. That got out in a hurry. Randall Grichuk with home run number 4 this season, on base for the 3rd time tonight.
Yeah, ball just jumps off his bat. That went halfway up the bleachers, up over the 374 area, well over, probably about 420, 425, and got out and lickety split.
Here's John Jay, and a ground ball that's hit towards second from the outfield grass, and the play is made. Brings in Tyler Lyons. And he'll be pinch hit for it, looks like, but his night, the second, the 4th, the walk, and then an RBI single to left field. So on base 3 times for Tyler Lyons.
Ray Garcia, who just recalled today, hitting well down at AAA, will get his first shot. Tyler pitched well. I think he just kind of ran out of gas there. Walker talking to Tyler. He's in line for his second victory.
Inside to Greg Garcia.
Like he almost tried to freeze there to let the ball hit him. His numbers down at AAA.
Two-oh pitch.
And then I love it when a young player realizes their second time they go, well, I'm not going back down, or I'm going to be more of a contributor. I'm not going to just sit there and say I'm happy to be here. You know, make it a tough decision.
He's tried to become more versatile too.
Sure.
You know, when you've got Pete Cosma hitting 100.
Yeah.
You know, and if he can play shortstop, you've got to have versatility.
Which he can, and if he can show that he can swing the bat better. I mean, we all love Pete, but it's reality.
Results-driven business.
And I know they're very close friends, and you know the type of guys that are going to pull for each other, but it could be at one of the other's expense. And Dan, I would tell the first thing to Greg too is get a catcher's glove. Be that emergency third catcher. If you can play shortstop, you know, you can separate yourself from other utility players. But if you play shortstop and also be the backup catcher, you know, you got a chance to spend a lot of time in the big leagues.
Three-two pitch. And it's a base hit into right field for Garcia.
And that even helps more.
So 13 hits for the Cardinals tonight. And the first of the season in the big leagues for Greg Garcia.
Breaking ball, and it's a line drive. Now, sometimes guys realize when you come up here, yes, the pitchers don't throw any harder. They have better command. But they also are more around the strike zone, so you're going to see more strikes to swing at. And you know, you don't have to worry about, you know, some of the wild throwers down there that you kind of say, well, wait a minute, I'm not going to take my life in my hands.
1 ball, 1 strike on Colton Wong. Now the Cardinals 12 runs, a season high. They had 11 also against the Phillies back on April 28th, the previous high. Third time in 38 games at this ballpark they've scored 10 or more runs.
It's hard to develop pitching when you play in a small ballpark like this too. You wouldn't think a lot of free agents that Citizen Bank Ballpark would be high on their list to where they'd want to go.
If you're a pitcher, you got to say what? Maybe Colorado be the worst.
Colorado, you know, Cincinnati here.
Strikeout of Wong. He is homered tonight, but strikes out for the second time. Garcia back in the big leagues and a single to right. Cardinals with 13 hits. The BJC Healthcare difference maker, scoring 3 runs or more this season. See what the Cardinals have done and the Phillies this year.
And then tonight the Cardinals have added 2 more frames and the Phillies 1. Villanueva will get the opportunity pitch here. He took the loss yesterday as he served up the home run, but he's been very, very good for the Cardinals. He's 3rd in the National League with his 1.09 relief ERA.
So Lions effective here tonight, gave up that 3-run homer, and that's about it. Everything else was Really good.
And I think, you know, I mean, these guys are athletes and they're very, very high condition, but I think the result is with all the offense, the long half innings, and the fact that he was on base 3 times and scored 3 runs, he kind of ran out of gas there in the 5th inning and allowed the 3-run home run.
A single to right for Dominic Brown. And it brings in Cameron Rupp, who is 2 for 2.
He's their #1 catcher, and he's a pretty good one. But Rupp making a statement today with his 2 for 2. It's kind of that safety valve. The Cardinals signed him with insurance as a emergency type starter, guy that could be in the bullpen, that is a long man or extra inning guy. It's the ball right here, jammed him, and he'll do it himself. But the one thing about Villanueva is he knows how to pitch. You know, he can't just throw the ball down the middle. He has to hit his spots. He's got some breaking stuff. Very good competitor, and I think he's one of those guys with no ego. Let's say if this score was reversed, you could bring him in this game, and you know, if he had to take a beating, he would do it for the team.
Odubel Herrera will be the pinch hitter. He made an impression in St. Louis. He was 7 for 17 in that series with 5 RBIs. The rest of the Phillies had 6. You talked about the staff really likes him.
Yeah, and he's a Rule 5 pick, so he has to stay with the ball club or be offered back to his team that they selected him from, and I think that was Texas. But last year he was vying for a batting championship in the minor leagues.
And that's hit out of play. Rough outing for Justin DeFreitas here tonight. Man, he got roughed up, and so did their starter. Lyons is in line for potentially his 2nd win in as many starts after not winning a game in the big leagues for over 2 years.
Well, now you got to make sure if he gets that 3rd shot, he makes sure he wins 3 in a row. Remember, he won his first 2 big league starts, and then it took him a couple years to win his next one, and that was last start.
Swung on and missed, and a strikeout for Villanueva, his first of the night.
You don't see a lot of pitches like this where the bottom fall out down the minor leagues and swing right over the top.
Phillies have been playing in Philadelphia since the late 1800s. The Philadelphia A's played from 1901 to 1954. Then they moved to Kansas City. A's won pennants in the early 1900s. But this is a franchise that has experienced an awful lot of losing. They won in 1980, had the great recent run we talked about, and trying to rebuild.
Now they've had bunches of good years, but they just can't sustain it. Had a lot of losing years, like you said, but remember in the 70s, they were an outstanding ball club with Schmidt, Carlton, Boone, Boa. You just really look at how competitive those teams were. When the St. Louis Cardinals were in the National League East, there was just an East and a West, and which was funny because you had Cincinnati and Atlanta both in the West, and Cincinnati and St. Louis in the East. But a few games over 500 to win those divisions.
Here's a 2-1 pitch to Andres Blanco.
Greg Luzinski. Used to love to watch Greg Luzinski. He was the left fielder. He would turn and face the left field chalk line, and he had all responsibility of what was in front of him. Gary Maddox had every responsibility. The Secretary of Defense, they called him here, he had everything else. Left center and right center.
That swung on and missed, and a strikeout for Villanueva. Back-to-back Ks. And we head to the 7th. Cardinals have Matt Carpenter, Johnny Peralta, and Mark Reynolds. Carpenter has been on base 4 times, and it looks like we're going to see Pete Kozma pinch hit for him. Gateway Honda home run inning. If the Cardinals hit a home run, the Gateway Honda dealers will donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Pete Kozma is 0 for his last 18. Genmar Gomez, 29th appearance. We saw him pitch with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And this is our Chevy called to the pen.
Gomez just allowed 1 earned run over his last 16 appearances, lowering his ERA from 4.15 to the current 1.97.
Kozma pulls it foul.
Dan, I was trying to think, because I thought this guy was a pretty valuable pitcher with Pittsburgh last year. It's kind of a long guy. A guy could pitch multiple innings. And I couldn't remember a transaction. I'm a little shocked that he was signed with Philadelphia as a minor league free agent. He had a 3.19 ERA in 44 games last year.
Top of the 7th, and Kozma pops it up. It's playable for Ryan Howard. Well, the Pirates can flat out pitch.
Well,
man, is their starting rotation something or what?
And that kind of tells you what kind of pitching they do have, but you would have thought he could have been involved in some kind of trade. You just got a prospect. But
Washington, by the way, leading in the 8th over Pittsburgh 4-1. Here's Peralta, who was lined out and walked. Also doubled, drove in 2, and a sac fly RBI to right. So a 3 RBI night for Johnny Peralta, and he is up to 38.
And maybe one of the good things about the loss to Minnesota yesterday, maybe we got them moving in the right direction. They're leading 5-1 over the Cubs in the 6th inning.
Aren't many teams that have a middle infielder that are their team leaders in home runs, and Johnny Peralta leads the Cardinals. Just finished up with Minnesota. Brian Dozier with 13 to lead the Twins, their second baseman. How about Wilmer Flores? He has 10 home runs.
Yeah, he's leading home runs. Shortstop for the Mets.
Out to right. There's Dominic Brown. And Brandon Crawford. He's tied with Buster Posey, the shortstop of San Francisco, with 9.
And I think we want to see what happens with young Correa with the Houston. See him down the few years. Saw a little interesting bit. They showed some video of him as an amateur. Remember, we were in Houston when he was the #1 overall pick by Houston out of Puerto Rico, and then showed some clips of him in the big leagues and see how that body has changed.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think what is he, 6'4", 210 now, and still has plenty of room to grow. But he's a keeper.
Oh yeah.
And if I remember right, they signed him for less than slot money so they could take the rest of the money and get McCullers, their second pick.
Here's Mike Reynolds, who doubled off the top of the wall and right.
I remember that there's a connection to Correa and Beltran's baseball academy. I think he was the first graduate. And I know Carlos was very excited about some of the futures, the players that they had coming through.
He had a number of kids this year get drafted.
Yeah, he would have had to.
You saw some of the pictures, didn't you, of that when we did a feature with the Beltran Academy?
Yes.
I mean, it is state of the art and really good in terms of teaching the kids from Puerto Rico English. So when they come to the ballpark.
Well, you know, he came through Kansas City. Beltran was originally signed by the Royals, and the Royals had an experiment back in the 70s where they sent all their scouts around the country to find the best possible athletes. They didn't even want you if you played baseball, but they wanted athletes. And then they were going to set up an academy, and then they were going to teach you baseball, and it was tied into a junior college. So you got your education, you got your baseball, but it was just so cost prohibitive doing it in the United States. But that's kind of the model what all these organizations do, you know, with their academies in the foreign countries. But here now you're seeing some of these guys like Beltran that made so much money and want to give back are forming their own academies and teaching schools, but know the importance of learning English and getting your education. I just think it's great.
Now it's Jason Hayward. Hayward has doubled to the right field corner, was called out on strikes, fly to right, and grounded out to first. Chopped off the plate and a foul ball. Next time you're looking for great seats, get to StubHub, where there are no surprise fees at checkout. The price you see is the price you pay. Plus, with 3 StubHub apps, you can buy and sell Cardinals tickets anytime, anywhere. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the St. Louis Cardinals. There's a broken bat. It's hit to short. And Hayward beats it out. Nobody at the bag at second because of the shift. An infield hit for Jason Hayward.
Like to see that too with Cardinals with a 12-3 lead. You like to see a man hustle. And here the ball on the ground. Seems a lot of times guys put their head down, don't run, but with a shift on, he comes hustling all the way out of the box and he gets the base hit. Put your head down and run. And here it paid off.
So for Hayward tonight, his second hit, and a big night for Yadier Molina. 2 runs scored. We'll see a pinch hitter here for Molina, and that'll be Tony Cruz. Left on the bench, Borges and Scruggs.
Just hold on. Got a feeling they're going to be in the game too. Keep Tony in the game. He'll play, you know, whether it's going to be, well, he'll be behind the plate hitting from Molina, but I wish managers would do this more often. If you think your backup catcher is a good hitter, you know, don't save him. All you have to do is finish a game.
And Cruz with a high fly ball out to left field. Time to stretch. And it's 12-3 St. Louis. We're midway through 7. There are the notes on Lyons, Molina, the starter for the Phillies, and Ryan Howard. Second inning of work for Carlos Villanueva.
He's got a new catcher, and that's Tony Cruz stays in. Scruggs is at first base. Reynolds moves from first to third base. Cosman stays in to play shortstop. And we have Greg Garcia's second baseman. And the outfield is the same.
Fastball, then a strike, and underway in the home half of the 7th. It's sharply to second, and the play is made. It's exactly what we talked about earlier. Playing second base, those kind of balls, you have time if the ball is knocked down, as opposed to when, as he talked about, it's short. You've got to field that more times than not cleanly.
Old school. You square up to the ball. Takes a bad hop, does whatever. He's still right in front of you. You can go down and pick it up and throw and get a man out. Play it to the side, it's a base hit.
There's a big breaking ball.
Hard hit ball. Watch the second baseman, Greg Garcia. You see how he was. He knew he was going to get a tough hop, but he kind of squared his knees, went down with it, and played it off the chest.
Villanueva has it. 2 down. Your players to watch: most home runs by National League rookies. We mentioned it yesterday, all these different rookies that have arrived on the scene and not only getting here, Al, but making an impact, and this quartet certainly has done that.
Yeah, I mean, and these are home runs that these guys are hitting. I mean, they're getting bigger, they're stronger. Franco hasn't played that many games to have the 7 home runs.
Middle of May, he's been their top home run hitter. Struck out twice tonight, and he also singled on a 3-0 pitch to left off of Tyler Lyons.
He's definitely someone that Boa told me we think he's our best prospect. It's only his 33rd game, and he has 7 home runs and 18 RBIs.
The 2-1 pitch. Well, he's got good movement, doesn't he? Villanueva.
Well, he depends on location, but he also is smart enough. He's been around a long time, knows how to pitch, knows how to deal and get people out with less stuff than others. Very good at changing speeds. Franco's also only 22 years of age.
2-2 pitch. Even there, you see how Villanueva
kind of quick pitch.
Yeah, he sure did. Different cadence. Varies up the look of his delivery to the plate.
Yeah, see how it's an abbreviated delivery hanger there, but it was high enough that he couldn't really do much with it.
2-2 pitch. And a ground ball, base hit into center, past Cosmo.
2 hits for Franco and 2 strikeouts tonight. I knew he had power.
Howard with a 3-run homer back in the 5th.
Still big money left on Howard's contract. They'd like to move him, but really can't find a trade partner. Over the last 4 years, Howard has managed to knock in 310 runs, but he played in only 114 games.
Pulled foul. I think the question will be, how much will a team pick up and absorb of a contract?
Well, talking today with a couple of the coaches, said the Phillies have already stated that they would take up just about all of it. Question is, they need prospects in return.
2-1 pitch to Ryan Howard. Remember they had Jim Thome here, and he put up some big numbers. Then Ryan Howard arrived on the scene, and I mean, he exploded on the scene. He's a young hitter.
And Thome was still productive, but
sure was.
Had to create an opening for Ryan. Of course, Ryan was a little older than when he got here. I heard Thome may be, some people were saying in consideration of possibly taking over next year in the San Diego job.
That has been the trend in going with guys that don't have managerial experience but aren't that far removed from the game.
Some people believe that running the ball game is way down the list and criteria. Maybe one of the number one is dealing with the media today for a manager.
Dealing with players that have big contracts, guaranteed deals. How do you get the most out of it?
Well, that helps too when you have somebody that the players know and respect, because they haven't retired that long ago, and Thome would fall into that consideration.
Here's an 0-1.
And the AAA manager for San Diego has been named the interim manager for at least the end of the year.
Base hit out to left field. And the bases will be loaded. Villanueva got the first two. Then it was a single by Franco to center. Walk by Howard. Base hit for Francoeur, his first hit tonight. And the bases are loaded.
Hanging breaking ball, and I think of Francoeur. Just think where the Phillies are in a sense, Dan, as Francoeur was one of the top prospects to ever come out of the state of Georgia. Many people thought he was going to be there for 2 decades. And now he's kind of been a nomad, playing with 7 different organizations. Last year spent most of the year in the minor leagues. Did get to San Diego, come off the bench. And here he's almost playing every day for the Phillies right now. As
nearly
a stopgap.
Out of the game.
Yeah.
In the air out to center field. Off the back of dominant Brown, and John Jay puts it away. Villanueva strands the bases loaded. It's 12-3. Let's go to our studio in a Bommarito Sports Update. So if the Cardinals hold on, they would be 5 in front of Pittsburgh after tonight. Minnesota leading the Chicago Cubs 7-1. That's in the 7th inning. Randall Grichuk is homer tonight, and here's an 0-1 pitch. Second inning of work for Gomez. It'll be Grichuk here. Then we'll see John Jay and Greg Garcia, who's back with the club and single to right his first time up. The 1-2 pitch. Hit sharply into the hole between third and short, and a base hit for Randal Grichuk. On base 4 times tonight. Join Fox Sports Midwest at Ballpark Village for the World Cup watch parties. Cheer on Team USA Monday. We'll be at Ballpark Village with games, mascots, and giveaways. The World Cup watch party starts Monday at 6 with a game from Edmonton at 7.
Girls got a good team.
That's pulled foul.
Mentioned Grichuk on base 4 times, a walk, single and run scored, a home run, his 4th of the year, and another single. His average has jumped up to 283 tonight.
You're all over the World Cup, aren't you?
Oh, I tell you what, I've been fascinated with him. I've been studying about them. Girls, I know they're going to go through this flight too. Even by June, some of the outfits.
Really? The whole ensemble, or
Oh, the whole thing. Head to toe.
1-2 pitch. The spikes too.
Not the spikes. She might use them.
But she likes to go out and practice, right?
Yeah, West needs a partner.
That's what I mean. I mean, you take out the grandson, kick the
she's
soccer ball around.
She's the goalie, and he and I take shots trying to score against her.
Strikeout of Jay.
Looking for something else, and he looks at this one. Good action back towards the corner. Greg Garcia is 1 for 1 in this game, so he'll get another shot. See if he scores.
Two balls and no strikes. You guys have the nets in the backyard too?
Yep. About 1 for our house and 1 for his house.
Little bouncer to the right side. And again, Garcia is aboard. That ball goes in the dugout. Very well could be a base hit and an error.
It will be a base hit and error, puts Garcia at second base, and then the lead runner Grichuk was going to third before that ball got into the dugout. So good opportunity here with 1 out for Villanueva, but nice effort to get to it. Then he tries to right himself, didn't have a handle on it, but he would have been a base hit anyway without that ball getting away, but
Greg Garcia, by the way, Al, was 2 for 14 all last year. Tonight he's 2 for 2. Baseball's a funny game like that. So Garcia back in the big leagues, 2 hits tonight. And here is Villanueva.
But Dan, that's why it's so important. You know, these kids come to spring training, they kind of get, they get acclimated to the environment. They get to know the players a little bit. When they come up, they feel a little more part of it. Then you get sent down. And when you come back, every time you come back, you feel like, okay, I've gone through the learning process. Now I'm going to start believing that I belong here and I want to stay here.
Speed of the game too, right?
Yeah, and they adjust to the speed. But I think they just mentally, you just feel like you're a part of it. And then all of a sudden you want to be a big leaguer. And everybody wants to stay with the club that signs them. But you also realize that you're auditioning for all 30 clubs every time you take the field. There's some scout here that's saying, hey, wait a minute, I like that guy. I like his mannerism, I like the way he moves.
Well, Villanueva not foreign to the batter's box, being a starter in his career in the National League with Milwaukee and Chicago. Carlos is a good guy. He's fun to be around and talk to.
He fits in very well with this ball
Sure
club
does.
and serves a very important need.
You were talking earlier about Greg Garcia growing up around the game of baseball, and his grandfather managed and was a coach. He told me he was a bat boy in Colorado when he was 12 years old. He said the best thing my grandpa did for me outside of teach me the game of baseball was hold me back from a brawl. He said everybody was going out to fight, and Grandpa grabbed his jersey and behind his neck.
He's 165 pounds now.
And he was 12 years old then, and he said, where do you think you're going? Sit down. You're the bat boy. You're not getting in this.
Of course, Dave might have been well up in his age right there at that time, too. He was on Buddy Bell's staff, I think, at the time. Yeah.
Buddy Bell.
Because Buddy knew him from all the years with Cleveland. You talked to Dave Duncan, and Dave worships Dave Garcia. And, I mean, just a great individual, born in East St. Louis. And didn't see him last year in San Diego. His eyesight's very bad now, but, I'm sure he's listening to our broadcast, and I want to say hello to Dave and just thank him for all the times he's spent and things the way he helped me with learning the game of baseball.
2 outs, runners at second and third, and a 1-1 pitch. Boy, there's anybody that needs a hit, it's this guy right now, Pete Kozma. 0 for his last 19.
And I'm sure in the back of his mind he's going, Greg Garcia gets called up here. He's got 2 hits tonight. I'm struggling. We both played the same positions. A lot of things going through your mind. It's almost impossible to play this game when you're always looking over your shoulder and thinking, I have to produce this at bat. I have to get somebody out in this relief appearance, or it's going to be my final one. You just got to put all that aside and just relax and let your natural talent take over. Easier said than done.
Two.
You think about Pete, wouldn't have gotten into beyond Washington Nationals a couple years ago. Got the key hit to win that ball game. He's played on some world championships and been on the winning team as a starting shortstop.
Out of play.
There's a whole bunch of guys that wish they could have the career that Pete Cosmas had.
Cardinals with 4 runs in the second, 2 in the fourth, 5 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth. 16 hits tonight and a 12-3 lead. And that's a walk, so the bases are loaded. Cardinals have received 9 walks here tonight.
Bob McClure out to talk as Scruggs will get his first plate appearance. Now, the only thing, Dave, Bob McClure can say is throw strikes. Nobody can help you if you're not throwing strikes. And obviously walking 9 with the Phillies staff tonight, 7 by their starter. It's one thing to get hit and get hit hard, but to walk people, that's the ultimate sin.
Scruggs chops it foul. Last time the Cardinals have received 9 walks in a game, it was here last year, August 23rd, and a game started by David Buchanan.
Scruggs was up a little bit earlier this season, had 1 plate appearance for the club May 14th through the 16th. Made his debut last season with a big club.
Here's a 1-1.
Last 3 or 4 years, one of the big power hitters, home run hitters in the Cardinal organization.
Just wonder if those numbers would ever translate to big league numbers in terms of power.
And you never know until you get a chance to stay here for an extended period of time. But that's hard when you're always playing for championship.
Strikeout of Scruggs. Sends us to the bottom of the 8th with the Cardinals leading 12-3. A 16-hit attack for the Cardinals tonight. They lead this ball game by the score of 12-3. Miguel Sokolovich is into the ball game. Our Chevy called to the pen. He did a very good job first time with the club.
Yeah, he was 2-0 and his winning his first 2 appearances, and then got caught up in the numbers games, went back, and he's pitched well. But here's a situation. He hasn't pitched in 11 days. Yesterday, Villanueva got the loss in yesterday's ball game, but he hadn't pitched in 10 days. So, I mean, you get to the point, it's easier to do it here with a 12-3 lead, but yesterday you're in a tie game for being away, but it's hard enough to try and throw strikes, let alone trying to throw, where you want it.
We saw that first time through, Al, was a good changeup, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, I saw in spring training, I liked what his fastball's good enough. He looked like he knows how to spot it, but he had that very good changeup and he had a good breaking ball. So, he could keep hitters off balance. There's a breaking ball there.
He does have big league experience. Has pitched at the major league level before.
And, it's been a while since he'd come back. So, you really just go to Japan and then you're not playing the big leagues and you dream to get back. And, you sit there and say, well, I know what I did wrong the first time, if you did anything, but you know what you have to do in order to stay. And that's like Mitch Harris got sent down. Well, they'll give him an assignment. They'll kind of say, okay, this is what you need to work on. And, he didn't pitch for 10 days yesterday, and it would have been 11. So you need to pitch. There's that changeup.
Yeah. Good one, too.
Yeah, I mean, he just sells it with his arm action, and his motion is just so perfect for it. And the same release point is just, 10, 11 miles an hour difference.
There's Cody Ashe, St. Louis kid. He played for the St. Louis Pirates growing up. He was coached by Rick Strickland. And Rick still talks to Cody all the time.
Now, Franco's going to play third base, so they trying to make an outfielder out of Ashe. And I also saw where they, maybe expand and play a little first base too.
Pulls that foul. His parents are from Nebraska. He always wanted to play at the University of Nebraska. Played there collegiately. Now here in the big leagues. Said one of his biggest influences, telling me, Darren Erstad. Former major league outfielder and football player.
Punter, right?
That's right.
University of Nebraska.
Fort Zumwalt product in St. Charles, Missouri. One ball and two strikes. I said Mike Schmidt has been huge for him in his career.
We talked about Mike being a Hall of Famer and 548 home runs, but when he first came up, he hit under 200, and I mean, really struggled. He always had the good glove, and that would keep him in the lineup at times. But Mike, for a Hall of Famer, can really tell you about the tough times.
1-2, had him out in front, and a base hit into right field. Cody Ashe with a base hit to right. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. The Rally Squirrel was here in attendance.
That was Rocky, wasn't it? The Flying Squirrel?
Rocky the Flying Squirrel, sure. Was it Rocky? Yeah.
I think.
But if you have these two teams, it's got to be the Rally Squirrel.
Yes. The Rally Squirrel made its presence on the World Series ring. 2011.
Now people will be looking at that going, is that a squirrel? And then you'll know the legend of the Rally Squirrel.
Don't you have more fun telling people there's a Rally Squirrel in that ring? Now try and find it.
Oh, yeah. People will look at the inscription on the inside, too, the Happy Flight.
Happy Flight.
2-0 the count.
Happy Bus.
Andres Blanco, the hitter.
Times when you haven't pitched for 11 days and you go out there and you know, it takes a toll in trying to recover from that little simple outing too.
Here's a 3-0 pitch, and that's ball 4. So base hit, now a walk.
And this is where I'm, you know, you almost have to get it out of your system. When you haven't pitched that long, you kind of expect that you're not going to have, you know, you want to throw strikes, but you get amped up. You're in back in that motion of the game and the competitiveness. The adrenaline starts flowing, and you really have a hard time controlling it. You're almost too sharp, too amped up.
Two-0 the count. Ben Revere. Three and 0. Nobody throwing in the Cards pen. 3 balls, no strikes. Pitch number 17 of the inning, nowhere close. The bases are loaded.
Derek's going to come out there. I mean, Sokolovich is trying to execute pitches and then just doesn't have the feel right now. But he's going to come out and say, look, just give it your good, honest stuff and throw it down the middle of the plate, and we'll take our chances. Got a big lead. The walking guys will get you back in there. But this is, in my mind, this is a byproduct of having 11 days off. Say, oh, you throw on the side and keep loose, but you tell me how you can simulate being on the mound in a big league atmosphere down there in the bullpen. It just doesn't work.
Cesar Hernandez with the bases loaded. That pitch high. Well, Miguel got the first man. He struck him out on a changeup, and since then, base hit and a couple of walks.
Let's get the changeup on this one, maybe.
1-0 pitch.
It's a good one.
One ball, one strike. One and two. Ground ball, diving stop by Garcia. He's had a heck of a night. That saves at least a run. One does score, but they get the out. Greg Garcia is 2 for 2 in his return to the big leagues and makes that diving stop to his left.
And you know he can play shortstop, but he's showing that he can play second base too. So that increases his versatility. And sometimes you sit there and you consider, look at where the score is, 12-3, and you got playing your heart out, and you're playing hard like that. You get brownie points too, but that's exactly what he should be doing his first day in the big leagues this year.
Franco looks at a strike. Well, the Phillies have to be demoralized to an extent, Al, with the fact that they're coming off a 9-game losing skid. One of the games they gave up 19 runs earlier this week. They've given up 16 hits and 12 runs tonight.
Yeah, it's tough, but you know no one's going to feel sorry for you. And if you're a Philadelphia Philly, you know you have a great opportunity to separate yourself from some of your teammates just by going out there and being aggressive and playing the game the right way.
A little chopper left side. Nicely done by Mark Reynolds, natural third baseman. Good play. And Jake Diekman is into the ball game. Hard throwing lefty, and our Chevy called to the pen. Numbers haven't been what we've seen in the past from Diekman. So the ERA is close to 7.
You know, he was just recalled. He's only made 7 appearances. 6 of the 7 have been scoreless, holding opponents to a 174 average.
Last pitch at 98. There aren't a lot of guys left-handed throwing this hard around Major League Baseball. Look at that, 97.
About the play that Reynolds made to end
good play.
the inning. Very
Soft
good play.
hands.
Like you said, natural third baseman, but tough play. He had the good hands on it and a strong throw over.
Reynolds a walk tonight. A double off the top of the wall in right. That scored 2. And he chased that pitch up out of the zone and a strikeout. So 1 away. Here's Jason Hayward. Hayward's had a good night with a double, run scored, also an infield hit with a single. The Fanatic was the 5th Beatle in between innings. So we celebrate the 1960s, a flashback and throwback uniforms.
Phillies might want to burn them. The uniforms.
The Beatles or the Phillies?
The Philly uniforms. They
Yeah.
might,
You don't think they're going to
no,
stay
I don't
with
think
these?
they're going to celebrate them.
It's a tough night.
Tough night.
That's why we have no names on the back.
Right. I mentioned Diekman, a hard thrower. He had 100 strikeouts last season. Most since by a Philly reliever since Al Holland also recorded 100 strikeouts back in 1983.
Inside and another walk.
10. 16 hits and 10 walks. You got a pretty good chance you're going to score a lot of runs, and the Cardinals have tonight with 12.
Strike 1 on Tony. 1 out, runner at first. The Cardinals carried Ed Easley, gave Mike Matheny the opportunity to give Cruz a few more at bats along the way. Carry that third catcher.
I was saying that you know, I wish sometimes managers would use their backup catcher if they think he's the best option. And they're always reluctant to do it in case your catcher got hurt. You know, you'd have to go to emergency. I wouldn't want to throw to a position player, but I would understand you're trying to win a game. It's part of your strategy. And if somebody got hurt and you had to have a, you know, Pete Kozma, the emergency catcher, back there, it's just to finish that one game. The next day you can get a replacement. But if that's the best option, you know, why not use them sometimes?
And think about, you know, when is that ever going to happen? You know, I mean, it's few and far between.
Exactly. And it seems like it would be worth the risk. The reward's higher.
Agreed.
And Mike has even told me, he said at times he wanted to use Tony Cruz, but he was reluctant and didn't do it because he was the only backup catcher.
Fly ball into right center off the bat of Cruz. Hayward back to the bag at first. And there's 2 outs. Here's Randall Grichuk. He's had a nice night. Walk, pair of singles, home run. Seems like with these young players too, Al, like a Randall Grichuk, you give him a day or two to sit back, clear the mind. They come back, and it's a different player, which we're seeing right here with Grichuk.
And that's part of, you know, you get a guy to come back and relax, kind of watch and maybe even catch up. You know, things are so moving so fast, and you know you're still dwelling on what happened yesterday or that other at bat. You got to put it aside and be ready for this one.
0-2.
It's easy to play this game when everything's going right, but it's how you handle the failure. And remember, you're going to fail a lot.
A strikeout that scoots away, but Rupp will fire a strike to Howard. That sends us to the bottom of the ninth. The Cardinals leading by the score of 12-4. For tonight, effective start, pitched out of a jam early on, and then helped his own cause. Here's the double play off the bat of Ryan Howard. But also at the plate, Lions reach base 3 different times. He is our Budweiser player of the game. 5 innings, 7 hits, gave up 3, walked 1, 5 strikeouts, on base 3 times. Our Budweiser player of the game.
3 runs he gave up were a 3-run home run to Howard in his last inning of work. So truly did a good job, set the tone for this one. Of course, he had the Cardinal offense behind him, and it's a good way to make a statement for the weekend.
Here's Ryan Howard, and an 0-1 pitch. Change up in the dirt. Three and one. Three-two pitch. Howard shoots it out to deep left center field, but John Jay is there, makes the catch.
tell Ryan's swinging the bat a lot better than what we've seen.
Sure is.
You know, he did play virtually a full year last year, and he's played in just about every game this season. But you still tell that, you know, the limp when he's running. So, a long time recovering from his Achilles, and I'm sure Wainwright probably talked to him, or he's reached out to Adam.
I talked to Ryan about it, and what he had was what he told me. You can have the surgery on the back of the heel or on the side when you have the Achilles surgery. His was on the very back, and with that he got an infection, and that's apparently that surgery can be.
I knew there was something that set him back. And
yeah, and he had a second surgery to clean that up.
Yeah,
so that put him back even further. A liner and caught by Garcia, 2 down.
Wilovich a little better this inning, as had that little inning to work.
What did Minnesota do? They won. They beat the Cubbies 7-2, and Washington won 4-1 over Pittsburgh. So a win here tonight. The Cardinals are 5 in front of the Pirates and 8 in front of the Cubs.
Cincinnati's trying to get back in it, but first they got to get to 500, but they're creeping closer.
Big question with them. What do they do with Johnny Cueto and
Aroldis Chapman?
Yeah, they're great closer. Watch out. 0-2 the count with 2 outs and nobody on.
You know, what did Philadelphia do with Papelbon, Harang?
You know, what do they have
Hamels?
to trade? Those are the guys, you know, you'd have to say those 3 for sure.
You know, a lot of people say we'd like to get rid of Utley and Howard. You know, if they make a lot of money. See, watch this Moth. How do you like to start your motion like that?
No wonder he threw it high.
Yeah, would have thrown it higher.
Matt Holliday knows your pain,
Yes,
Miguel.
yes, remember that.
Moth in his ear. 2-2 pitch. Good changeup. Shallow center, and the Cardinals have a Game 1 win in convincing fashion, 12-4 over the Phillies. With 3 Cardinals home runs hit in tonight's game, a total of $37,500 was raised for prostate cancer research. To make a donation, you can go online to homerunchallenge.org. Over $1.3 million have been already raised. Wong went deep. Cardinals rolled. 16 hits and a laugher here in Game 1, 12-4.
Well, the Cardinals 21 games back over 500. They pick up a game on the 2 chasing them, and it was just a complete victory here. Good pitching, only allowed 3 runs, but the offense is what really stepped up and made a difference in this ball game, and hopefully make a statement for what we're going to see the next 2 days here in Philadelphia.
Stay tuned. The postgame show comes your way next. All the stats, highlights, and news around Major League Baseball. Don't go anywhere. 12-4 our final.